auto, home, business, life, or health insurance. They're here to protect what matters to you most. You can check them out at royaloathinsurance.com or give them a call at 586-238-3535. And of course, today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends at Connection, the CRM built for closers. If you're a real estate agent, entrepreneur, or small business owner looking to automate, follow up, and close more deals and stay top of mind, then Connection is your secret weapon. Go to yourconnection.com and take control of your pipeline today. Now, whether you're tuning in live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, or X, catching the replay on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you stream, we're glad you're here. Do me a favor, hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this with a friend, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. All right, guys, let's get locked in. We've got a powerhouse show lined up today, and if you're in business or real estate or just building something big, this one is for you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Elite Real Estate Podcast again on a fabulous Friday morning. I got an old friend of mine in studio this morning, and we're going to introduce Mr. DJ Todd Everett here, my friend. How are you?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. We've been trying to do this for a little bit. Yeah, we've been trying to do this for a little bit.
Finally made it happen, right?
You're a busy guy.
Sometimes.
Oh man. But so DJ Todd and I, we go back, we shed the same kind of ground, the same dirt and everything at Quicken Loans back in the day.
Yes. Was that about a good almost 10 years?
Oh man, 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild times back then. Wild times. But we all found something else, right? We
Absolutely.
all found something else, and
it brought us back together. Huh?
it's funny how that works, right? I always say people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Absolutely.
All right. And seasons come and go, but the lifetimes stay there, and then it kind of recycles itself. So that's where we're at. We recycled ourselves. Oh man. But tell me about your business. Like how did you always been into music, right? Always been into that stuff. But where did the taking it to where you are now come from?
So it's kind of a funny story. I've been DJing since I was 15. I think it was destined to happen because it was always around me. As a little kid, I started collecting vinyl at the age of 7, right? And I was always into music. And I actually started calling myself a DJ at age 15. So how I started my company, the Todd Everett Experience, which is a multi-op DJ lighting and photo booth services, is, as you said, we were working at Quicken Loans years ago, and I was about to become a dad, and I wanted to create something that brought generational wealth or has some type of legacy to it, right? And
Yeah.
I was looking at so many other cultures and saying like, wow, their kids kind of have something already there for them to kind of take over once they get to a certain age. So it's funny how things happen. I had went to New York to do a wedding, and my van at the time broke down. So I took it to my mechanic, and one of my mechanic's workers was there. And as I'm telling him what's going on with my van, and he pulls it into the garage, his wife pulls up with his 2 little sons. And when they get out of the car, he's like, go get me this wrench, go get me that. And he's calling the wrenches out by like numbers or something, right? And they understood what he was saying, and they was running and getting the wrenches. And I'm like, wow, by the time this kid's in high school, he's going to be running a business, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of put the battery in my back because I was already thinking about it in my head. So I took like a month just thinking of different things that I can do or trades that I can go into to find something that I can have, that I can build, that I can pass down to my son. And I couldn't think of anything, right? And one day the light just went off and was like, DJing, you idiot. You know what I mean? So I thought about what I was doing at the time. As far as DJing, I was DJing in clubs, bars, stuff like that. And I just had to like reimagine myself as a DJ. And that kind of led into what grew into the Todd Everett Experience.
Got it. So, and man, that's deep, right? Because that's one of the things that, and I'm a dad, and there's a lot of us out here that what's going to be the lasting impression, right? And people don't talk about that enough. Like dads, we struggle with that sometimes of dad went to work every day. What does that mean? Right. But what's going to be the generational the legacy that I'm handing down. And now you're building something that because your son's a DJ.
Yeah, so it's so funny because I didn't really have to teach him, right? So to go a little bit deeper about my company. So the things that I looked at as a DJ is I said, when I'm a dad, I don't want to come in the house at 3 in the morning, right? I want to be able to put my kid to sleep. I don't want to be in an environment where I have to deal with fights and waiting on a club promoter to bring me my money at the end of the night. And I don't want to be in an environment where I had to be in a box as far as the music that I play. So I said, what do I like about DJing? Well, at the time, it was very different than what I like as a DJ now, right? When I first started, I'm probably like most DJs, if it's safe to say that. It was all about me, right? You
Sure.
know what I mean? It's all about the music that I like. It's all about playing that song when I want to play it, right? So I just had to change my entire mindset of how I viewed a DJ. So what I did is I thought about a night out on the town, right? Whether it was a wedding, whether it was going to the club, right? And me, I'm into fashion. I want to be fresh, right? So I go to the mall. I gotta buy a nice outfit, right? You go out. If you're with a couple of friends, you buy a round of drinks, right? See a lady you like, you buy her a drink, right? And then after, you want to go to a Coney Island or whatever the case may be to grab food, right? So the next day, you wake up and you're like, dang, I spent about $300. I could have just stayed home. And why? Well, there really wasn't an experience. You just
Right.
went out, spent a bunch of money, don't nobody cared what you had on. You know what I mean? You bought drinks for people that probably don't care 2 cents about you, right? So I thought about the events that I were doing, and I'm like, you know what? I wonder how those people feel when they walk away from that event. Like, how do they feel the next day? That's where the experience part came because, like, when you start a business, you have to identify a problem,
Yeah.
right? And your business is the solution. So I felt that a lot of people go out and they spend a lot of money, they sacrifice a lot of time because they can be doing other things, and they don't leave with anything to remember or anything to feel like going out was worth the wow. You know what I
Right.
mean? So that was that. And then I thought about myself as a DJ, right? And I looked at my DJ name was DJ Chokes at the time. And that's a whole nother story how I got that name, right? And everything to me has some type of meaning behind it. Everything with me is like well thought out, right? So I thought about all of my good qualities, not basically what I thought of myself or the qualities that other people might have complimented me on, right? And I went down the line, worked at Quicken Loans, right? I became a coach.
Yep.
I used to collect on default mortgage payments, and then they created a role for me as a coach just because of the things that I was doing on the phone call, right? So one of the qualities that I learned at Quicken Loans by becoming a coach, I remember my team leader, he came to me, he said, listen, this is a new role. You have to go in front of upper management or leadership, because Quicken doesn't
Yeah.
use those terms, right? And you have to basically tell them what your role is and what you're going to be doing, why you're going to be doing it. And I'm like, oh no, because when I first started DJing, you couldn't pay me to talk on a microphone. I was very shy.
I'm here to play the music.
Yeah, looking down, wouldn't look at the crowd. God forbid I did a wedding and it was time to introduce the couple. I'm looking for the auntie or the
Yeah.
wedding planner or somebody here. I pass them the mic, right? So I tell him, I said, man, I can't do it. I'm nervous. I can't go in front of, a room full of, people
Yeah.
and do that. So he said, well, let's do a mock situation and we'll practice it. So we went in there. He's telling me like little one-liners to start off, and I'm like, okay. I go home, I practice it. And the day of, I thought about calling off. You know what I mean? And I go in there because I'm like, okay, if I call off, they're probably gonna reschedule. I have to do it any right way, right? So I I had all of this anxiety, right? So like 5 minutes before, I said, you know what? F this. I just gotta be me. You know what I mean? I just gotta be me. So I went in the room. It's a room full of everybody. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I just said, you know what? Some of you may know me, some of you may not. My name is Todd, da 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 da, right? And I explained what I do now. I explained why. I told them a little bit about myself. So after that, I'm getting on the elevator, and all of these, leaders that I see on a daily basis that walk past me and say nothing, they get on the elevator and they're like, you really know how to command the room. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I was like, really? So as I became a coach, they tried putting me as a trainer because I think we were understaffed, and they're like, well, let's let Todd train the new hires. And they were getting feedback that, you know what, he's really um easy to work with. He could command the room, and we're learning the information because he's able to put the information into real life situations that resonate with us, right? So then they made me a hybrid where I was a coach and a trainer. So the big thing was star power there, right? Because when we walk in through different buildings, Quicken Loans had all the buildings downtown. We're walking in different buildings. Everybody's like, Coach Todd, Coach Todd, Coach Todd, So my training team would look like, how do they know him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that kind of grew, and it built my confidence at the same time because I started to realize like I can command the room, right? So this is how this is a funny story because this is how it became a business. So I thought all about all of my qualities. People compliment me on my smile. They
Yep.
say I'm very charismatic. They say I can control the room. Um, People say I'm down to earth. I'm very relatable. Um, at the time, I thought I was a decent DJ, right? So I'm like, okay, I can always build that up. So I took those things, and I'm like, well, what's a good name? What's a good name for my company? I told you about the experience part, and I kept thinking, and I looked at all the DJs, and if you have a DJ scratch in Detroit, if you go to Baltimore or Virginia, there's probably a DJ scratch there, right? So I said, I don't want a name that is common in different places. So I thought about, okay, let me look at the high price DJs and what's different about them. So I looked at like a lot of the EDM DJs, and I noticed they don't have DJ in front of their name,
Right.
and I said, well, listen, I want to be versatile. I want to have a diverse audience, and I want people to look at me more as a DJ because I just think the DJ game is so watered down just because we have like Spotify and
Yeah.
and
Everybody's a
the
DJ.
press and
Yeah.
play,
Yeah.
right?
You can buy
S-
the things on Amazon now.
Right. So I said, well, what are you giving the people? You're giving them yourself, right? And I can always be the best version of myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I might not be the best DJ, and I might not ever be the best DJ, but I'm always going to be the best Todd Everett, right? So I'm like the Todd Everett experience. And that's how I came up with the name. So how I ended up going full time with it is um we had a team meeting. This is so funny. We had a team meeting at Quicken Loans, and my leader at the time had said, listen, we're going to have this meeting in 2 weeks. I want everyone to come to the table with some ideas of what you want to do to grow your business next year. And I listened to her words correctly. She made it very vague. She never said your business with Quicken Loans, right?
She just said your business.
So we had this meeting and everybody's going and I'm last. So when I came in, I put on the monitor, I had my logo, everything. I said, I'm gonna start a DJ company called the Todd Everett Experience, da 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 da. And they're looking at me like I'm nuts. You know what I mean? And my leader is like, what the heck is he talking about? And they're like, this has nothing to do with work. You know what
Right.
I mean? So I said that, and They were like, okay, that went left. You know what I mean? So months later, I never took vacations. My birthday is June 27th. So every year I take my birthday off and come back after the 4th of July. Well, this particular time I took off, I never came back, right? And it's so funny how everything comes full circle. I'm doing a event at Laurel Manor in Livonia, Michigan for a fitness center. Their holiday party. It's about 350 people in there. And I'm not DJing. One of my DJs is DJing, and I'm just on the microphone. And out of nowhere from the kitchen, you remember Bethany, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Bethany and one of my team members, Marissa, when I was there, they run out of the back and run up to me like, oh my God, you did it." And Marissa was at that meeting, right? And
Yeah.
she's like, "Listen, I thought you were crazy." She was like, "But you did it. I can't believe it. Like, we all thought you were tripping." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that was kind of like a great moment for me, but that's kind of how I started and started my company and went out on my own.
It's such it's such a cool story, and there's so much to, like, unpack with what you're saying. And again, from an entrepreneur standpoint, you just did it. You know what I mean? Like, we talk about that all the time with business and, real estate, whatever an entrepreneur is just doing it. Because at some point, you have to just do it. Like,
Do it.
we can talk about it all we want. We can say we're gonna do this, we can say we're gonna do that, but at some point, you actually have to just do it.
Yeah.
And for you to take that leap, and be like, "All right," and leave a job that you had that was a good job, had a bright future to it.
2 kids,
Yeah, 2 kids.
mortgage, it's a big risk. And when most people think of DJs, they don't think of DJing as a business. It's kind of like the side hustle you do on the weekend, right? And still to this day, I get that. I remember my parents asking me, like, "What do you do? What do you do?
Right.
What do you do? What else do you do? Where do you work?" You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and my dad would ask me, it wasn't until my aunt died some years ago and he had to come to Detroit and he had to stay at my house. And he's like, "Okay, you must do something." You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're doing
And
something for a
and
living,
and
right?
then when Facebook became the place to kind of advertise and show what you do, he finally joined Facebook. So he sees it now. He's like, "Oh, okay, I get it." But a lot of people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're a DJ." They don't look at it as, "Oh, he's an entrepreneur, he's a business owner."
Right.
Because most DJs don't function in that capacity.
Right. Right. And the one thing that really stood out to me too that you were talking about, and this will stand out for anybody that owns a business, an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, is how do I create that experience, right? And it's if you're buying a house, how do I create an experience of you buying a house? How did you create an experience of a wedding, right?
Mhm.
Like before we jumped on, we were talking about my wedding, and I said, I don't remember my DJ's name. I don't know who he was. He was good though, right? Like he was good because I said there was the dance floor and it was all happening, and he switched songs and everybody started to leave, and he went nope, and he switched right back and pulled everybody right back together. So he was a great DJ. I just don't remember who he
Yeah.
was.
It's hard for me. It's some of the simple things. It's making yourself, for me, I wanted to make myself look polished, professional, and for people to take me serious. And it can be something as simple as having an email signature. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Something that simple. And for DJs, like the experience, a lot of times people think, "Oh, it's a dance floor thing." I don't even talk about the dance floor because I don't like to oversell and underdeliver. I don't know what your dance floor is gonna look like. I can't guarantee that everybody's gonna dance.
right,
You know what I mean? What I can say is when I step in the room, I feel like I'm a people magnet, right? And what I can say is that throughout the planning process, we're not going to abandon you. We're going to be here as a resource.
right,
We're going to be here to communicate with you. We're going to be here to answer any of your needs. If you need to do a venue walkthrough, a lot of DJs don't put that extra time and effort in. It's just like, give me your deposit money. I'll see you at the event. So one thing for me was doing simple things like an email signature, um, having a process. most DJs or companies don't have a process. It's just I provide this service or I have this product, but they don't think about, well, how do you get this product from point A into the customer's hands? And even after that, if they have an issue with the product or they have an issue with the service, how do you handle that? So just having a process and to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a tiny bit of crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
you don't get any sleep. People sometimes people call me like, "Do you work today?" I'm like, "I'm always working."
Always working.
Even if I'm doing something that's non-work related, I'm always working because my phone can ring at any time, right? So I think those are like the key things for me was to have a process, create a brand. And what I mean by that is, not just get a logo and a company name. You know what I
Mm,
mean? People have to identify with what that logo stands for and what that business um core values is, everything that that logo embodies, right? And I think sometimes we come up with a logo, a business name, we pay for a website, and we're like, oh, we're an entrepreneur, we own a business, but it's a lot more than that.
yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those big things too, right? And an entrepreneur is anybody can be an entrepreneur, right? It
Yes.
doesn't what does that mean? I can say I am. But am I actually creating something for somebody that and one of the other things you said too is like you saw a problem like with the industry, right? Because we think of DJs as some guy that brings a milk crate of records to your house and does spin some records in the basement, you know.
Right.
We've all been to those parties. At least I know I've been to a few of them. But so when you think about it, is that right? And it's not a business. It's just some guy I know. I'm going to pay him a couple $100. He's going to DJ my wedding. Like,
Right.
but now that has changed so much, right? With the experience, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things that you've created is this experience for people, right? And it's not just so much like, yeah, I can come play music, but I can also just put Spotify on with a Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah.
What's and this is one of the things I say with real estate agents all the time. Any of us can go open a lockbox,
Yeah.
but what does that person feel like when they go in the house with you, right?
Yes.
Any of us can plant a sign in your front yard, but what is that like? What are you doing outside of that? We're gonna have robots that do this stuff soon. so,
Yeah.
so
It's getting scary out here. And I always say this because I meet a lot of DJs that want to be a part of my team, but they want to be a part of my team because they want to do what I'm doing or on that level, right?
yeah,
And I always say, listen, don't underestimate the value of working for somebody. You know what I mean?
yes,
Because my ability to start my company and run my company is a combination of everything I've learned as an employee
yeah,
throughout the years, working for different companies, being a manager, being a coach, being a trainer. Like all of these things had a lot of value to who I am today, even as a DJ. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I always say, like, you have to crawl before you walk and don't undervalue that. A lot of people, I want to be, because let's just be frank, the world teaches us today that you have to have three streams of income, right?
yeah,
And you have to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of us have some great ideas, great products, but we don't have the business savvy or the intellect from that level to make it succeed. You know what I mean?
right,
And I always tell people, listen, I've had my business, I believe, going on 8 years now, right? And every day I'm learning something new. Every year I have to switch up something. What was working last year doesn't work today. And that's the interesting part is like sometimes it's like starting from scratch again. But that's what excites me, right? As an entrepreneur, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting the phone calls. This isn't working anymore. But it was working last year, and I was so confident and comfortable with it, right? And
yeah,
now my back is up against the wall. We got to figure it out again. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I always say, like, don't shy away from being a worker. That's a very important part of the journey to become an entrepreneur.
It's man, it's so deep, and what people don't understand is this is a very deep topic. And one of the things that I've been really we so Sherry, who was on my show last week, we were talking about emotional intelligence, right?
Okay.
and it's the be, do, have, right? You have to be what you want to be, do the things that it's supposed to do before you have the end result. It doesn't work in reverse,
Yeah.
right? Although, like to your point, we kind of teach that in reverse. We're like, be an entrepreneur, then you'll have a bunch of money. It's like, well, yeah, you could, but you also need to do the other things first, right?
Yes.
To your point, it's like get in, grind it out a little bit, right? And again, it doesn't whether it's a DJ or a real estate agent or an insurance salesperson, whatever, you have to learn the business side of it first. Yes, you have to go get a license. Yes, you have to do all those things, but you also have to then figure out, all right, how do I put deals together? Right? How do I actually like sell a house? Right? What goes into that piece of it? For you, it's all right, how do I actually take this product to the market? Right? Yeah, weddings, great. But where do I even go find somebody that has a wedding? Right? Where do I, Facebook's great. Social media is fantastic. But then how else do I find a corporate party? Because I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things too that's changed the game a little bit too, is all of us corporate parties now are like, oh, we want a DJ. Well, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? What does the Todd Everett experience bring to that?
Right.
That just I can't hire some kid that works for me to come play some Bluetooth music. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. It's very important and fortunate for me. Like, I was able to be introduced to the corporate sector through my employment in the corporate world,
Yeah.
right? My first time doing a corporate event in college, I worked for Home Depot and I was a cashier. My frontline supervisor came to me one day. His name was Jay. They just had their wedding anniversary like 2 weeks ago, right? And his fiance worked in receiving at Home Depot. So
Okay.
we were in the same store. He comes up to me one day and he says, "Hey Todd, people keep saying you're a DJ." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a DJ." He said, "Man, my wedding DJ kind of bailed on us and I need a DJ." And I was like, "Oh man, Jay, I'm sorry to hear that." And I kind of walked away, right? He was like, "Well, can you DJ it for me?" I said no. I said no, Jay. I don't want that responsibility, you know. And it was two reasons, right? He was white. I never had did a wedding outside of my culture, right?
Sure.
And I just didn't want to disappoint because I got to come back to that job every day, right? I didn't want the responsibility or the burden on my shoulder to mess his wedding up, right? So he's like, "Look, man, I know you can do it. Everybody likes you." He was like, "I know you can do it." And it was like the broke college student in me was saying, "Go for it." But the other part of my conscience was saying, "No way," right? So I called one of my he's one of my lead DJs now, DJ James Osteen. I called him at the time because he was one of my mentors coming up, and I told him, and he told me, "Do this, do this. If this happens, do this. If this doesn't happen, do this.
If they
Play the
want the chicken dance.
yeah. If they want the hokey pokey and the chicken dance, you know, play it. Cover your ears, but play it."
Right.
So I did the wedding. And I come back that following Monday, and like all the managers and stuff, they called me Hot Rod Todd. That was my nickname at Home Depot. Because I was fast I had a lot of metric badges because I was fast at ringing the items up. And they're like, "Hot Rod Todd, you did a good job. You did a good job." So I was like, "Cool, okay." Whoo. And about a month later, they came to me like, "Hey, do you want to DJ the Christmas party?" So I'm like, "Okay." I had
Yeah.
never done a corporate event and that kind of happened. Fast forward, same thing with Quicken Loans. You know what I mean? I started doing all of the isms day and
Yep.
the orientation days and the holiday parties and stuff like that. So that kind of gave me the experience in the corporate world, on top of me getting other events at that time as well. So that was kind of like my introduction into it. And when I started my company, I know I wanted a diversified portfolio. You know what I mean? And that's another thing. Like a lot of DJs, they're like one trick ponies. They want to stay in one specific thing. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I
Right.
always wanted to be versatile. So I do a lot of different cultures, and I do a lot of different like types of events. And I think that has led to me growing because the one thing is like you mentioned social media earlier, right? Um, my clientele is probably 75% referral based. And the reason that I like that is because it's so hard to sell to someone, especially with weddings.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because brides have so many different vendors to research, to talk to give money to, right? So 9 times out of 10, when you would think DJ is like one of the top priorities
Yeah,
because
right.
I think we're the pulse of the event. We control how long people stay at the event, right? And you spend thousands of dollars. You want people to stay to the very end. If you don't have a good wedding DJ, people eat dinner, they get restless, they start
Trust me.
to go
Yeah.
home, right? So I'm like, I got so much media out there. You know, when I first started, I can say out of, in Michigan, I probably had the most media that was available. I'm talking about videos, and I like to do unedited videos. I like to show the start of the reception, the end. No added music beds. I want the original stuff. I just want people to see the authenticity
Yeah.
of it. And you know, brides have the younger they get, the less they research. They're on TikTok every day, so they look at the cool stuff that's on TikTok, right? I can go in a studio or a room and I can create some awesome stuff that can make you feel like I'm the greatest DJ, right? But that doesn't translate to the actual event. You know what I mean? And I always tell um my team, sometimes my social media team, they're like, you need to do more videos. You need to do more videos of you mixing and DJ. I've been doing this for 30 years and I
Right.
stay busy every weekend. I don't have time to go into a studio and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't have the time. It's not that important to me, right? Um, so most of my clientele now have actually been there. They're the
Right.
the the siblings or the cousins or the friends of brides that I've already had. And I don't have to sell them. They've been there. They walked away with the feeling. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that is probably the best thing that has happened to me business wise is that my brides and their audience are my marketing piece.
Yeah. And it's one of the things you said too earlier though. It's the experience, right? Because again, anybody can get up there and DJ for the most part, right?
Right.
We have enough technology now. Shoot, AI, we can put we just AI. My intro music, all AI music. You know what I mean? Like, but so like all that's to be said is that you're creating something that's outside of the normal realm. Could you sit in this room and mix a bunch of records? You could do it, and you'd be great at it.
It's harder for me.
Well, because you don't probably do it as much, right?
Well, no. This is the thing with me and during COVID, like I never really got online. You know, a lot of DJs was taking
Yeah,
that opportunity. I think I did it twice. It was so uncomfortable for me. See, the difference with me is I'm about the people.
right.
So
You have to feel it.
I have to feel it.
Yeah,
The people take me to heights I don't even know that I can go. You know what I mean?
right.
And that's what's different about me. That's my niche as a DJ is the people. Like the fact that I'm a good DJ is a bonus.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I always say that, at every wedding, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what songs I'm gonna play. I'm not a playlist DJ.
yeah.
When couples, I had a couple, I did a consultation with her wedding is in 2 weeks, and she had a do not playlist of like 50 songs. I'm
Was
not
it Chicken Dance on
exaggerating.
there?
Yes, it was. But the wobble was on there, Cupid Shuffle,
She wanted none of those.
YMCA. Um,
Those are wedding staples, man.
they
What's wrong?
are, right? And this is what I tell all my brides, and you have to be a bit ballsy, right? But I am who I am, right? And you know that
Yeah,
that's my personality. And I tell her, listen, I know you got this do not playlist, and I know you have your playlist. I'm glancing at it, but it's my show. I'm gonna make you feel great. I'm gonna make your guests feel great, but I cannot be put in a box. You may not like these 50 songs, but your 300 guest count might love them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can't go by your limitations of this, 80 song do not playlist. I have to have complete control and complete freedom to do what it is that I do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I might not play any of these songs, but if it makes sense, I'm gonna play them. You know?
Yeah.
Are you giving me that freedom? Okay, cool. We're gonna have a great night.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you can't be afraid of it. Tara Chody just said he's the best at networking events as well. So
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
um, but one of the things you said, you can't be afraid of it, right? Again, this kind of I like to relate stuff back to real estate, right?
Mhm.
We can't be afraid about pricing a house either, right? Because when we go sit down, they've looked at the Zestimate,
Yeah.
they went on Zillow, they think they know what their house is worth. We have to be like, hey, your house is not worth that.
Right.
Right? It's not. I know you think your house is $1 million. It's only 200, right? Like that's it. It's not $1 million.
That's a big drop.
Yeah, like I know your family was raised here and you
Yeah.
raised your kid. I know all that.
Right.
Right? Now, if you think if you're gonna be so hard on me that I'm not gonna do that to you,
Yeah.
right? It's putting it back on. I'm not gonna do that to you. I'm not gonna hurt this experience for you. I've done way more weddings than you have.
Yeah.
Right? I've done a lot more weddings than you have. I see how this works. So I don't want this to be a bad experience for you.
Yeah. And you know what the thing is I always say this, and I always tell DJs this, when people make a playlist, they don't have other people in mind, right? And I always tell couples, listen, if I was to make a playlist right now, it wouldn't work in a party because this is stuff that I like to listen to in the car. I like to clean the house to. It's probably stuff that'll put you to sleep. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I always tell couples, listen, I don't even want to talk about the dance floor. The dance floor is only like 2 or 3 hours of the event. That's not what makes a wedding successful. It's the logistics. It's the ability to be a team player, to communicate with everybody. Like, for instance, I had a wedding this past Saturday, and I was talking to the videographer and the photographer in there. I'm like, well, what time are you here to? And they said, well, we leave at 9:30, right? And dinner was supposed to end at maybe like 8:30. We get into the formalities, that's probably another 30 minutes, right? So I told the videographer, he came over from Windsor, and I said, listen, I gotta give you something to record. I said, keep your finger on the trigger. I said, I'm gonna come out swinging. So the party starts, and I mean, he's like, "Oh my, you weren't lying," you know what I mean? And they ended up staying until 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They ended up, and that's what makes a great DJ. You're making everybody else's job easier and better. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And that's just the mindset that I embody. That shifted from when I first started. It was all about me. It was all about the records that I want to play. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I always talk to DJs and they're like, you brought up the hokey pokey or the chicken dance,
Chicken
right?
dance.
And I remember I was a DJ at Firebird Tavern on Saturday nights, right? And they used to get a lot of bridal bachelor and bachelorette parties,
yeah.
right? And that was a large part of the clientele on Saturday nights because it's two levels. I was upstairs, downstairs, they serve food and everything. They
Right.
had people down there, but upstairs, hardly anybody, right? Until like late in the night. So I had a bridal party of maybe like 12 people. You know what I mean? They came up, and then a bunch of the guys came up, and somebody requested the chicken dance. I hate the chicken dance, right? But I have these 20 people in here, and it's just them, and that's what they requested. I'd be an idiot not to play it, right?
Right.
I don't like it, but it's not about me. It's about making them have a good time. I played it. It wasn't the manager there. The owners, they weren't there that night. They're usually there. So they let their manager kind of run the show. And he comes up to me and he tells me to turn it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Why does everybody hate the chicken dance?
it sucks, right? So he tells me to turn it off, and I say to him, "Well, listen, I'm a DJ. You you're not gonna micromanage. That's just how I am. You're not gonna I'm a professional.
Right.
I've done my due diligence to learn and study my craft, right? And you're looking at it from a different mindset. I'm making your bar money because when they dance, they get tired, they're gonna go buy a drink, right?
Exactly.
And when you buy another drink and keep dancing, you're gonna want another drink, right? Because you think that a drink is hydrating you, but it's really not. So you keep going, right? I understand the business of it, right? Man, he was pissed that I didn't turn it off. You know what I mean? And this was another thing that led to me starting my own company because I ended up leaving that night. Me and him got into a little back and forth altercation. And I told him, well, if you want to DJ, then I'm gonna let you DJ. I'm gonna pack up my stuff and I'm gonna leave. You DJ. You want to tell me what to play? You DJ,
Yeah.
right? And he was looking at me like I was crazy. But here's the thing: is like you have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything, right?
Yes. And you got to be willing to walk away.
And you got to be willing to walk away. You know what I mean? We learned this: numbers don't lead, they follow, right?
Yep.
So I'm telling him, listen, I'm here for these people. They came out. They deserve to enjoy themselves. They deserve to have somebody that understands them being here. This establishment is hospitality. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not about us. And you know, those are the different things that you have to go through. So that's why I kind of shift to weddings and corporate events and stuff like that. And I always tell DJs, listen, you have to stand on something. Like, you know, you have to take people's requests into consideration. But at the end of the day, you are the talent. And if they hired you, they're trusting in you to do the right thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's funny because, like, everybody has those requests, right? Everybody has that request that they want. And if the one person comes and requests it, like, I'm not playing it. I'm not. If 20 come up and request it, there's only 20 people there.
Yeah.
If the majority is asking me for this, even though I hate it, I got to probably do it. Right.
Well, Jim, sometimes a request isn't really a request. And I say this all the time to DJs. Sometimes they just want to come see what you're doing. And they
Ooh.
don't know any other way to say, "Hey, I'm coming up to check you out." You know, there's been times where I had a female come request a song and I looked at her and was like, "I'm playing that song right now. You don't hear it?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes they just want to see what you're doing. Sometimes they want to meet the DJ. You know, they think what you're doing is cool. You're the center of attention,
Yeah.
right? They want to be next to you. In the world we're in now, they want to take a video, they want to take a picture. So I never turn down any requests. If anything, I welcome it. And I'm brutally honest. You know, I might say, "Oh, you want to hear that? I'm not playing that." What?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's an opportunity for me to build a relationship with that person. And you know what? I always remember what they asked for. If it makes sense, maybe an hour later or something, I'll play the song. You know what I mean? But
Right.
at that point, it has shock value. You already turned them down, and then it's like, "Oh, that's my son." Now they're really a fan. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But you have to. I had a guy I let join my team, and well, he was auditioning for my team, and I went to a wedding. I did a surprise pop up, and I'm just sitting at one of the tables. He doesn't even know that I'm there, and I'm watching the party, and he's letting the people control the party because they're coming up nonstop requesting songs, and he's just playing it. He's just playing it, and the dance floor is completely empty.
Yeah. Except for the one person that requested that one
They're
song.
not even dancing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it usually happens like that. The person that requests the song usually isn't the one that's gonna get up and dance to it.
Yeah.
They're gonna still sit in their
That's
seat.
funny, isn't
You know
it?
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's to kind of cover up the fact that they're afraid to get there out there on the dance floor because everybody's not a dancer, right? And
Right.
some people are shy. You know what I mean? So sometimes they'll use, "Oh, this DJ is whack," or he not playing my song. They'll use that as the reason that they're not out there partying, but in a lot of cases, it has nothing to do with the DJ.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Tara sent a question and she says, how far do you travel for events and weddings?
So I travel pretty much anywhere. I've been to New York, I've been to Atlanta, I've been to Chicago, um, I've been a little bit of everywhere, and it just depends on, you know, if they want to pay what comes with like traveling, because you have to for me, depends on if I have to drive or if I have to fly. And if it's somewhere where I have to fly, then they'll have to be responsible for equipment rental in that city or state. But I'll pretty much go anywhere if it makes sense.
Yeah. And then Al says,
What's up, Al?
he said, I understand where he's coming from. Al used to be a professional drummer.
Wow. Okay.
And so and then he says too, he said, he understands where you're coming from. And then he said, musicians, actors, and athletes all understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Because and I like it, I like to relate it back to real estate, right? And to entrepreneurs in general, because again, if you don't stand for anything, you fall for everything.
Yes.
You know, if I just say yes to everything, right? Like the DJ that just everybody comes up and says yes. If I'm a realtor, I just say yes. Well, I have over selling pricing, like my prices are overpriced. I'm not selling houses. I got buyers. I'm running out to 74 different houses that they're not buying any of them. You know, and here's the other thing too. As a DJ, you're the master of ceremonies, right? Like you said, I had the video guy, I had the photographer. Who's next talking? You got to run the show because you got the mic.
Yeah.
Right. Realtors, we have the mic, and you got to understand the loan officer, title, inspectors, your clients. You have to be the master of ceremonies as a realtor and run the show, because if not, you're just going to get run over like the guy that just keeps saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to be the one as the real estate agent to say, we're not doing that today. We'll do that tomorrow. Right? Like that's not happening today. I don't have time for that today. We'll do it tomorrow. Or I need it done today. Right? I need it done today. Or how can I get you to stay longer? Right? Appraisers come out, you know, because appraisers think they're everything, right? Well, if you're on the list side, you should be meeting your appraiser at the house and providing them with some value. Because again, where does that value come from? If you're not providing value, none of it matters.
Yeah.
So again, as realtors, you guys got to understand that was one of the interesting things. I looked at your business and I was like, man, this is what we need to be. Like we need to take what you're saying to the masses of real estate agents and go, you're the master of ceremonies. You're the one that has to direct and put all this thing together. Yeah. So I'm MC Jimmy Nelson. That's what I'm putting.
It's all about trust at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I always say this with DJs, they don't put the value on them. They want to tell you about, I got this nice setup, I got these moving headlights, I got all of this stuff. You're telling me about stuff. If the client has money, they can walk into the Guitar Center and buy themselves, right? Yeah. You know, like if Beyonce or Chris Brown has a concert, they don't give you an itemized list of, hey, we're gonna have 20 fog machines and 50 moving headlights, and we're gonna do this acrobatic thing in the middle. All you see is Chris Brown, Beyonce, right? And that's the thing with DJing, right? I make it all about me. If clients ask me about, hey, I called this other company and they said they're gonna have this and gonna have this, I always say, listen, if you hire me to paint your house, I'm gonna bring the ladder and the paintbrush, right? You know what I mean? So I think that, you know, when you put the value in you, people gain the trust in you and they look at you as the expert. You know what I mean? And when they look at you as the expert and value you as the expert, then they trust in you to make it happen. The less questions you get, the more they know that you are in control, or they're giving you that control. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's very important.
Yeah, it is. And it goes back to everything, right? It doesn't matter what business you're in. It's what value are you providing, right? Like you said, if I'm going to come paint your house, guess what? I'm going to have a ladder and some brushes. If I don't, then I'm not what
am I doing here?
If I don't, then what am I doing here, right?
Right.
If I'm a DJ, yes, I have lights and I have turntables and I have microphones and I have headphones and I got all the things, right? But great. So does every other DJ. right? Like, what is that experience? And I think that's one of the genius things about your business, right? Is the Todd Everett experience. It's not just, yeah, you are a DJ,
Right.
but there's so much more to it than that, that people just don't understand.
Yeah.
And they don't need to, right? They just need to feel it when it happens. And I think that goes into a lot of our businesses. We have to solve problems for people, and again, create an experience that they're going to remember, right? The only thing I remember about my DJ is that he did keep the dance floor moving, and he played the chicken dance for me.
Right. He didn't give you a personal presence though. Everything was about the dance floor.
Right.
And I always say this to like my team before we even get to the introduction of the couple into the party. People are asking me for my cards like by the end of cocktail hour. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I make my presence known as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not always about the music. You know what I mean? It's about, you know, this. People remember how you made them feel.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And
We learned a lot.
we learned a lot, you
Yeah.
know, and again, that's why I say you have to take everything. You know, when people ask you this question, like a friend of mine asked me this. I remember I was 25, and he said, Todd, who are you?
Mm.
And I didn't know how to answer it. I'm like, I'm Todd. I'm, 5'7", whatever,
Five
whatever.
seven.
And he's like, no, who are you? And I really had to think about it, and I had to come back to him maybe like 30 days later and answer it. Like, you are everything you learn and every person that you've come into contact with since birth.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And you have to take everything that you learn from individuals, from jobs. I remember us working at Quicken Loans, and you told me one day, you like, Ty, you need to dress for the job. Remember asking me that?
Yeah.
And I was wearing, Jim was dressed up professional, tie, and I had jeans and Timberland boots and sneakers and stuff. And he said that to me, and I was just, I'm being true to myself. This is who I am. This
Yeah.
is a representation of me. Doesn't mean I'm not professional, doesn't mean I don't have the intellect of everyone else in the room, but this is just my expression of self and how I feel the most comfortable. Now reverse it. I do weddings every weekend. I'm suited and booted, right?
Right.
Um, and like now this is more, me on the everyday. But you have to take everything that you're learning from everyone you come in contact with and all the jobs and the experiences that you have. And you
Yeah.
have to take that information and make it make sense to you and what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And Keith Stonehouse said, make your presence known.
Keith, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Make your presence known. And it is true there. And because you will leave a mark on people,
Yeah.
right? Wherever you go, again, good or bad, right? Sometimes, and I think about this too. I think about the things that I've seen out there in my careers. Notice I said careers,
Mhm.
um, of of things I didn't want to do
Yeah.
again, right? Like I don't want to do it that way. I do want to do it this way, right? And again, finding those experiences, because it is all about our life experience.
Yeah.
It's how can I gain this? How can I do this? And then what do I take with it? And you're building something incredible, man. Like,
Yeah.
so
You-
how many people are on your team now?
So I am a multi-op. I started with myself. Now I have a team of 6. My 11-year-old son is my youngest on the team. As we talked about, he was the reason
Yeah,
that I started. So it's 6 of us. We are growing. And I'm very particular of my guys. I'm not looking for guys that are great DJs. I can teach you that, right? But they have to embody um our brand's core values, a high level of integrity, and they have to have like a yes before no type of attitude. There's certain qualities and things that I look for. Like I had a one DJ. He was a really good DJ, and he showed up to a wedding like 30 minutes before the wedding, right? And later on, when we talked about it, he said, well, you're going to need to pay me extra. So I said, why? And I said, well, listen, I'm a paint a picture for you. Kobe Bryant had his NBA contract, right? Nowhere in that contract did it say, Kobe, you have to show up at the gym 5 hours before the game and practice, or you have to stay after the game and practice more. That was something that he wanted to do because he wanted to be great. He wanted to stand out. He wanted to separate himself from everybody else, right? That was his work ethic. That was his mentality. And he was ambitious and had a strong drive, right? So if you don't have that mindset, you don't fit my brand. You know, at every event, I'm there and ready to go 2 hours before the wedding starts, right? Because I always plan for unexpected things to happen. I don't want to rush. And I want people to see me there early. I want the venue to see me there early. I want the wedding planner to see me there early. I want them to say the DJ was the first one in the room. He was the last one to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because you are the MC, you are the masters. You're the one putting everybody together. That's what I said. Like the DJ, just outside of the music, right, is important. Justin Barton said Todd is awesome.
Justin, how you doing? We gotta go golfing again, man.
We gotta get out. You and I haven't golfed. Justin and I have golfed. Me and you haven't
Me,
golfed.
you, Justin, Tara, we gotta get out.
Let's do it.
Now, as you might not have heard, I'm not very good at golf. You know what I mean? But I'll get there. I'll get there.
You gotta just do it, man. You gotta just do it. That's all.
Sure.
That's all. That's all. So we got about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on social media at It's Todd Everett, ITS Todd Everett. You can follow my company page at the ToddEEXP.com. On all social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. The website is www.thetoddeexp.com. Everything's consistent. That's another business tip. You have to have everything consistent, right? So people can find you. But Spotify, same thing. SoundCloud, Mixcloud.
Love it. Love it. And we're so you guys, I'm telling you, what's your son's social media handle?
The Prince of Harlem. That's his name. So it's the _Prince of Harlem.
I'm telling you guys.
Can I show the world the treat that I brought you?
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see it.
So going back to what I said when me and Jim worked together years ago, I was always wearing sneakers. So, you know, Jim have his Jordans and stuff now. So I just want him to know, even though I'm not a shoe collector anymore, I just want him to know how serious it is, right? When he tries to challenge me. So hold on.
I do have the Jordans on today. I had to wear them just for you today. So, oh man, this is the first on the show, man. This is great. Oh man, he's got a big bag. Like this one right here, right there. But yeah, for those of you who are just listening, Todd's got a big, humongous duffel bag here, and I don't know what's coming out of it. But I'm excited.
What would you say is the best athlete in sports that was in the NFL?
Oh, the Bo Jacksons. Man, look, show them to that camera. Man, guys, oh my God, those were one of my favorite pair ever.
1988?
Yes, those are the 1988s. The tan and blue with oh man, these things. Oh man, oh look at this guy. Guys, I'm telling you, he's got a shoe collection here that is absolutely insane. Oh, what size are these? Yeah, the Fab Five Hirachis. Guys, if you haven't seen those bad boys. Oh, the Reebok pumps. So the Reebok pumps, these right here, I rocked these my senior year for basketball. Yep, I had the black and white ones. These are my high school shoes, right? Oh, and then the Iversons. Man, this guy. Guys, I'm telling you, if you got to go back and watch the show, because these are all coming out of the show, and then the Jays too. Look at this is such a good ending to the show. I walk out on this, but oh man, look at these guys. Man, they just keep the top 10s. You got to have the top 10s. I had them in junior high. They were white and green. 87. Yeah. 87. I had the white and green. Had the white and greens because my sister played at Eastern Michigan.
I'm an Eagle too.
And that's what
That's
but
what they
back then
played
they
in?
were the Hurons.
Okay. Oh wow.
They were the
Okay.
Hurons. But that was her team shoe and she hated them. So I got them.
Okay. Yeah. It's like roller skate. You need to double stop.
Oh yeah, those were terrible. Yeah. Well, man, brother, I appreciate you coming on today. I thank you very much, and again, we'll get you back on because a lot of knowledge bombs today, man, and I appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you as well.
And guys, come back next Friday. Hopefully, these shoes will still be on the counter.
Not a chance. Not a chance.